All right, and once again, we are back at it with Plunk. This is a special episode being the season finale of season two of Plunk. So I'd like to start out by giving thanks to everybody who's taken the time to listen to myself and Kristen and as we ran about our teams. And it was a tough season. How you doing, Kristen?
I'm all right. How are you?
I'm hanging in there. Once again, this is the show where we celebrate two baseball teams in one city, that city being Chicago. We're here to talk about the finale of the season, a few days late, but just want to wrap up our thoughts and maybe throw a last uh, few shovelfuls of dirt on our on our baseball seasons as we bury them and move on into the holiday season. So, anyways, what's new with you, Kristen?
Nothing. Nothing at all. I was off work today. It was my first day back, so it was rough, and now I'm sleepy.
All
But
right, back at it, and I don't know if anybody was there. Anybody watching that was there. Kristen and Hassan Liggins pulled off another Be the Miracle, the fourth annual charity ball that they do here for to promote squashing gun violence and promote youth advancement and helping kids fulfill their dreams so they can fulfill dreams of others. Be the miracle. It was a splendid affair. I gotta say, I'm impressed every year, but this one is really, and I'm not just because I was involved in it, but like really just overall the quality
sure.
keeps going up, and you did a hell of a job.
Well, thank you very much, and thank you, Emilio Bucks Media, for handling all of our media needs. And yeah, it was a good event. We raised a lot of money. That money will be used for programs, our mentoring programs, scholarship programs, partnerships, and we are working on a partnership now based on the the fundraiser. So it was a good time.
Excellent.
Some of our former students were there, and one of them said it was the best night of his life. He got to meet his favorite TV stars from the show South Side, Kareem Young and Sultan Salahuddin. They were honored, and so people were taking
And
pictures with
present.
them. Yeah. And then Tia Ewing from Fox 32 News was the host, and people were loving taking pictures with her. And then Val Warner, who was married to one of our honorees, she was there. So we had a little Chicago royalty celebrity in the building, and
Excellent.
people really enjoyed taking pictures and seeing them and listening to them and them tell their stories of what they've been doing for the city of Chicago and young people.
Right on. Chicago stand up. If you don't know about Be the Miracle, you need to get on board. It's a great organization, started from the ground up, true grassroots. And they've Kristen Petit and Hassan Liggins, they've done an excellent job of building it, and all of the board members and all of those that have assisted along the way have done a phenomenal job uh, of really giving back to the community and like finding the spot, which is the youth, that is probably most important in our community because I believe the children are our future. Teach them well, let them lead the way.
It's going to take many years to fix the many problems in the city, and so we're all getting a little older, so we have to count on the young people to pick
That's
up
right. We just
where we
got to
are.
do a little bit for each generation. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? It's like it's not about fixing the problem. There's just no way to fix it all in
Hmm.
one thing, one effort, one group. You know what I mean? It's just you just do a little bit and help each generation be better than the one prior. We want to leave this place a little bit better than it was when we got here. Is
Yeah.
the point I think? So
Yeah. Get them ready for how they'll need to lead.
that's right. I'm getting mine set up because they're my own children. I look at them as like my retirement fund. Like I have to, they have to look out for their old man
Yeah, yeah, that's why
he's
you have
once I
kids.
try to retire at 90.
Sure, exactly, because that's what it's gonna take nowadays.
The way things are going, like maybe if I
Right.
live to 90,
It's a circle of life. Your
yeah,
parents take care of you, then it rolls around and your parents become your dependents.
that's 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 the whole. We'll see.
That's
Uh,
the circle of life. Now me, I'm in trouble. I'm at to borrow somebody else's kids. So
I think you have a lot of people who will look out for you, though. You know what I mean? Like you've done a lot for a lot of people, so I think it'll be by committee. You'll
yeah, I
be
was gonna
taken
say it'll
care
be
of.
a team effort. Everybody will take a. They kind of like, oh,
There you go. You know what I mean? By then you'll have somebody buy you out of your situation and, live off that.
yeah.
Say shout out to our partner in crime, T Nick, out in Ohio. I don't know what he's doing out in
I was
Ohio,
like,
but
what's he doing in
shout out
Ohio?
to T Nick.
You move?
And
What
shout out
move?
to our favorite plunkster, Deb.
Oh,
Deb,
sorry.
our sincere condolences on the New York Mets playoff exit.
Did you
Uh,
see Buck show off to trying everything he could by
yeah,
having that picture checked?
yeah. He was like, something's wrong. Like
No,
he
your
should not be
team
pitching
couldn't
like
hit.
this.
Your
I
team
mean,
didn't.
I'm not mad at him. It's like,
Well, he tried, and then it didn't throw him off. So it was just like,
yeah. So it's like, all right, well, you had to try something. You know what I
yeah.
mean? Like
I'm tired of
seriously, try to
rubbing on.
break his rhythm or something. Like,
They were like rubbing all on his ears or something. I was like, oh.
I mean,
And
that guy,
Cobra?
he was mowing him down. Like
Yeah,
it was like I think the Mets only walked away with one hit in that game, and
yeah,
it was tough.
yeah.
I feel for you, Deb. You know we do. You know we do.
Sorry. And they started out so well.
Well,
They,
yeah, yeah, and that's
they
this crazy game in baseball. There's so many games played, and you can be doing well for so long, and then just hit a bad patch, and it's always about who's hot when,
yeah.
and so I don't know, like Atlanta, lit up at the right time, unfortunately, and
And
Cubs didn't do Atlanta didn't do New York any favors. They swept them when they came. And that's how it happens. It's like when you're fighting, then the bottom feeding teams start beating you. Like even when the Sox were struggling, then they were losing to Kansas City, and then they even lost to Detroit. Then it was like,
yeah,
all right, well,
it ain't
it's
every year.
yeah,
Sorry, Deb.
yeah, that's tough. That's tough. For this show, we got a special guest that'll be joining us any moment. We got the Superback Sean Sierra that's going to come on and talk with us about the White Sox season or ending of that season. Um, and we're going to talk a little bit of Cubs and hopefully what the future holds for the Cubs. That look on your face.
Nothing. Now they're talking about smart spending and
Yeah,
what's
when they throw smart
smart?
onto it, it's like,
Yeah, or sensible. I'm sorry. I think they said sensible spending and Ricketts. You don't buy championships. Oh, yes, you do.
yeah,
Okay,
that's exactly what you're supposed to do.
all right. Tampa Bay may get to the playoffs, but that's all they do, and they
Yeah,
have the lowest payroll, and everyone's homegrown, but they don't have enough to get over the hump. Baltimore is much better now, a lot of young homegrown, but they're not going to get over the hump until they buy somebody. Right
yeah,
now,
absolutely.
it's doing well, but who knows? Once they don't have much power, they have the speed, they have the heart, they have the feistiness, all that kind of stuff. But sometimes you're going to need a little power. So they got a hometown discount from Jose Ramirez, but they're eventually going to need to buy some sort of talent. You have to,
Absolutely.
and I know buying talent doesn't get you anywhere because the Sox had like what the sixth highest, seventh highest. They had a pretty high payroll, but they
Yes.
didn't. Now that's where you talk about sensible spending. They
Well,
spent
they spent money on the wrong people.
right, but at least they finally, that used to always be a knock on them not spending. At least they
Right.
did. But yeah, the
Well,
Cubs.
yeah.
Mm, mm.
Well, That's a good segue into our Sox moment. Let's bring on the superback Sean, and we're gonna talk a little White Sox.
What's
My
up,
brother,
guys? What's up, guys? How we doing?
good man. How are you?
I am wonderful, wonderful. Thank you for asking. Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely, always a pleasure. Thank you for joining us, sir. Yeah,
It's always
man. So I think the big story for the Sox towards the end of the year wasn't just the complete collapse, was also the stepping down of Tony La Russa. Sean, who would be on, perhaps if you've built one, who's on your short list for manager, or what do you think they should do about, what do you think they should look for as far as a replacement manager?
They need to find first and foremost. I'll give you some names in a second, but here's what you need in a manager: you need someone to hold these players accountable. Period. End of story. All right, that didn't happen with the White Sox at all. Okay, Tony La Russa was like a grandparent. Okay, where the grandkids got to do whatever they want. They never probably got to talk back to him, and there was never really any discipline, any law, any examples set, and he made, the biggest situation was a Yerminator last year. Okay, when he got into a funk, Tony just said, "Hey, you know what? He wasn't performing. He's got to perform, right? You don't back off." Yerminator. I mean, first of all, where's he at now? You know what I mean? He got caught on with another team, but he never really lived up to it because he got called out. Well, you know what? If you get called, if that bothers you to a point where you get criticized, come on, man. I mean, grow the hell up. So I think they need a manager who's going to hold these guys accountable. I need a manager who's going to bench you when you're not running the first, when you're not hitting the cutoff man, when your approach is bad. These are all things that you need to do in the game. Okay, and Tony was complicit in their behavior. All right, they weren't having fun. They, it looked more like they were going to work as opposed to enjoying it. When you saw the last year and a half or so with Rick Renteria, those guys were having fun. All right, bat flips and coming back late. The old phrase, "Ricky's boys don't quit." I think that's the type of manager they need. On my short list, my first and foremost pick is Ozzie. Okay, I know they're going to want to go outside of the. I feel that they're going to want to go outside of the organization. I had Ozzie Jr. on my show. He said they're probably not going to get that call like they did last time. They actually called Ozzie last time to tell him he wasn't in contention. He wasn't in the running. All right, and Ozzie was on the post game, and he was bragging a little bit, but he was right. He said, "There's nobody in baseball that knows this team better than me." He's been watching them every single day. He's friends with he knows a lot of players. Talking about my guy Yoel Moncada. We'll talk about him sure in a second. He's good friends with him, and a lot of good. He's in contact with a lot of these guys. But he plays base. He would manage baseball the right way. Bruce Bochy is a guy that I'd want on, but according to Ozzie, his health is worse than Tony's. So
I was going to say he's pretty up there. He's retired for a reason too.
Right. So Bruce Bochy's out, but give me a Sandy Alomar. All right, give me a Joey Cora. I would love a Joey Cora because you know why? Because Ozzie would be on his bench. Okay, Ozzie would be the bad cop. Joey Cora would be the good cop, and I would love Joey Cora, right? Because he's that old school type of manager where he holds players accountable. All right, this team is far too talented to be 81-81. That is an embarrassment. It's embarrassing for me to call myself a Sox fan. Cubs fans talked a lot of shit, and you know what? I couldn't say anything because their team was playing better than ours at the end of the season. Their team was more exciting than ours. Their team was hustling more than ours. Their team was more fundamentally sound than ours. And we got guys with these big ass contracts, and you can't play fundamentally sound baseball. There's no reason. There's an old saying in sports. All right, it's usually the coaching ranks. You're either coaching it or you're allowing it. All right, and Tony allowed a lot of things that weren't fundamentally sound. Hell, when the last series or second to last series, when Gavin Sheets hit the cutoff man hit the catcher to tag out one of the Twins. We were shocked because that was the
beautiful
first time
play.
Man, We're like, whoa.
Where was that all year?
Exactly. You know exactly which one I'm talking about, Emilio.
Yep.
You know, and we were like, dude, are you serious? That could have been done all year.
Where was that all year?
So they're going to need a manager who is going to make these guys realize that you have a job to do, all right, and make them do it. Period.
Absolutely. Once again, we're talking with the Superback, Sean Sierra from the Sean and Maya podcast. So what do you think what are some pros and cons to hiring kind of somebody, because they made it a point to say it doesn't have to have White Sox DNA, meaning they're claiming they're willing to look outside of the organization. Now, you seem like you're a little bit more towards hiring somebody with the White Sox DNA. Even Sandy Alomar has some DNA here. You know what I mean?
A year or two. Yeah.
Yeah. What are your thoughts about, like they talk about Mike Schilt. I think I'm saying his name right. Schilt, he was the former skipper of the Cardinals, who came up under Tony La Russa. Like, now, would you consider him an option? Would you consider him part of the White Sox DNA, or an outsider? What are your thoughts on that?
He's an outsider with connections to us, because he wasn't part of the organization, but he was underneath the man who ran this organization and ran this team for a while. And although it was back in the 80s, he was still part of it. So anyone coming from the Tony La Russa tree still has some connection, so to speak, to the White Sox. Maybe not firsthand connection, but a secondhand. My biggest thing is this: what type of team do you want? That's the big question that Rick Hahn needs to ask, and that the front office needs to decide. Do you want a team that is all power, or do you want a team full of guys who are multifaceted? Where, yeah, I know Luis Robert might be up, or Yoel Moncada might be up, but if you just need to get guys over, you can't be afraid to bunt. You can't be afraid to do your job. I mean, how many times have we seen Jose Ramirez on the Guardians do that? He's got to get a ball to the right side of the field.
Yeah,
run
his ass off,
and run his ass off to make sure that you go there. All they needed was, they got a guy on third. All they needed was a pop up to the outfield.
Yeah.
What do you do? Get a pop up to right field, scores a run. This guy is unselfish, and these are the type of guys that you have to have. But that comes from your manager. Look at their manager, Terry Francona. That's a guy who demands respect. That's a guy who's won it. That's a guy who when he says jump, you say how high. You trust that man.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't trust Tony so much, and that's what you need in your skipper, is someone like that. Because, man, if we could go back in time and get Terry Francona over Tony La Russa, Charlie, this team would be a whole. We'd be talking. We wouldn't even be on right now. We might be talking about tomorrow's playoff game.
Yeah,
that's what we'd be doing.
Absolutely. I'm going to throw a few names out there at you. Once again, the Superback, Sean Sierra from the Sean and Maya podcast, joining us here on Plunked. Abreu, Cueto, Andrus. These are three guys who contributed substantially to what success, if any, the Sox had this year, are not under contract. Do you re-sign any, all, none of those guys? Obviously, the bigger name is Abreu.
One, Elvis needs to stay in the building. I love Jose. I'm a big fan of Jose Abreu, but there's no room for him. If you want Andrew Vaughn to be your DH / first baseman, okay, then, and get his ass out of the God blessed outfield, you need to let Jose Abreu go. Yeah. I don't know if this year was a sign of his decline, because everybody's numbers declined, okay, and maybe he has a bounce back year next year, but you can't take that chance. You have Vaughn who needs to be playing first base on a more consistent basis.
Absolutely.
Right? If you keep Gavin Sheets, you got Gavin Sheets as a left-handed DH. You have Eloy as a right-handed DH. Okay, you can go get another outfielder, because you don't want Eloy or Gavin Sheets out there in the outfield, or Andrew Vaughn in the outfield. They're not outfielders. No. Okay, so you need to get those guys out. You need to get those guys more at bats. So, unfortunately, and according to Bob Nightingale, a good friend of our program here, our platform here at Sports Zone Chicago, he came out and said that, according to Bob Nightingale, and he's got I think him and Tony or him and Rick Hahn, he's got a lot of insight because he was the one who called the Tony La Russa signing 2 years ago. And when he said that on my show, I'm like, really? He's like, don't be surprised. They're looking at him. I was like, what? Sure enough. Okay, he's got ties. So Tony La Russa, the White Sox are not gonna extend a contract, offer a contract to Jose Abreu. They're just gonna part ways with him. Johnny Cueto, I don't know if you wanted to gamble again and try and catch lightning in a bottle twice. He had a great year. With a no spring training, he came in and his spring training was his rehab assignment was the minors. Okay, which is fine. He came up and he was far more effective than I think any White Sox
anybody thought he would, more so than even the Sox thought.
And if he had any run support, he'd probably have 10 wins. If he had any freaking run support, he'd have 10 to 15 wins. There are times he'd go 6-7 innings, give up a run or two, and he'd lose 1-0, 2-0, 2-1. That type of thing. So, but I don't know if you want to gamble again. Maybe if it's a team-friendly deal, okay. Andrews, I think you got to keep him. I think he's a guy that, you're in win right now mode. You don't need a second baseman who you want to develop over the next couple of years. You're in win now mode. I know he's a shortstop, but TA's your guy. All right. Unless you want to move TA, and that's a whole nother conversation. All right. But if you want to keep TA at shortstop, then you move Elvis to second base, and you have a pretty strong defense or middle infield, which is what you need. You need defenses. Doesn't matter what sport you're talking about. Defenses need to be strong up the middle, which means Yasmani, he's going to have to play DH as well because his defense sucks behind the plate. But you'd have a strong middle infield. You have a strong Lewis Robert in center field. So you have a good defense strong up the middle. So Elvis Andrews should be the only one that I would keep of the three names that you mentioned.
Okay, good point. I'd have to agree with you, and I'd have to, unfortunately, agree with you on the Abreu move.
It hurts. It hurts, man.
It hurts. He took the club-friendly deal to be a part of this, and kind of wasted 2 years of his, of his possibly final glory days. We did see a decline in those power numbers. But of course, we saw a decline in everybody's power numbers. But unless you are looking to trade Andrew Vaughn, you got to get Andrew Vaughn out of that outfield, and because you need to keep his bat.
Well, according to Rick Hahn, everybody's tradable. There's only two people who are not tradable: Andrew Vaughn and Dylan Cease. Those are the only people who are not up for discussion. That's it. Everybody. We're talking Yo-Yo. We're talking Eloy. We're talking TA. We're talking Lou Bob. Hey, and you know what? Good. That's what they need to hear. Those guys need to hear you are not irreplaceable. Okay, and you did not live up to your contracts. And you know what? They're going to move you if they can get the right deal to save money because you're not living up to your contract. Cool. And if you are living up to your contract and they can get a really good deal, cool. It's all what they can get back in return. So I think all those guys need to be on notice, and I'm happy that he said that, and I'm happy that the ball's in their court. I mean, now they know there's two people that are untouchable on this team, C and Vaughn. That's it.
With the kind of emergence of Jake Berger, and he played a pretty decent third base. What do you do with Moncada?
That's a big
and I know that's your boy.
That's my guy. I love
your
Yo-Yo. I love you. I mean, I want to meet him. I just want to be like, "What's up, dude?" And talk to him in Spanish. Be like, "Oh, yeah, Papa, ¿cómo está?" And just talk to him a little bit in Spanish, see how he's doing, see where his mind's at. But here's the one thing: are you willing to give up some of the defense? Because my goodness, he played a Gold Glove third base.
Yeah.
Since they moved him there, oh my God, his athletic ability is just crazy. It's literally like he looks so natural at third base. It's scary. Now, if he can just live up to the offensive side, there wouldn't even be an issue. We love you, Jake Berger, but stay there. Or we're going to use your trade bait.
Right.
But since he hasn't, here's the thing: do you want to give him one more year? I personally would give him one more year. Okay.
He looked just so not there this season. And I don't know if it was the whole COVID thing from earlier or if he was never healthy. because of the oblique. We know those oblique injuries tend to be nagging and take a long time to heal. But if anybody will, among all of the other players, if anybody looked like they could use a change in voice as far as a manager, I would say Johan is definitely somebody who needs a foot in the ass. You know what I mean? Who could really motivate him to live up to his potential. So I think that's something we got to keep an eye on once we get a new manager. Once again, we're with the Superback, Sean Sierra, Sean Amaya Podcast, Sports Zone Chicago. Let me ask you, how much did injuries affect the White Sox this year? Everybody has injuries. It's a part of the game. Even the winningest team had injuries. So how much of it was an issue for the White Sox, do you feel?
It was huge, man. It was huge. I'm looking up, I'm trying to see. Give me a second. The amount of games missed. Okay, and here I just found it. All right, this was on October 1st. October 1st. Jose Abreu played 154 to that point. Okay, good. But Andrew Vaughn had played 131. Good. But then Yohan was only at 99. All right. Luis Robert was at 98. Yasmani Grandal 97. Eloy Jimenez 81. Tim Anderson 79. All right. So you're looking at a third of the season that those guys missed.
Wow. TA played less than Eloy.
Yeah. More than a third of the season those guys missed. Now, yeah. What do they have? Maybe 12 to 15 games total all year where everybody was back. You know what I mean? Because as soon as they got back, someone got hurt. Played 2 games, someone got hurt. They come back a week and a half later, someone got hurt. So that was a huge thing. And it's not just, everybody has injuries, but how big are the names and how big of a part of that organization were those injuries? I mean, we're talking about Andrew Yohan Moncada, all right, who's got a big, $50, $80 million contract. Mm-hmm. Luis Roberts, $60, $70 million contract. Yasmani Grandal, a huge contract he signed a couple years ago. Eloy Jimenez, big contract. Tim Anderson, big contract. All these guys got big contracts. All these guys are guys that we relied on, and they should be part of the power, the South Side Power Company, but they're not. So, when they come back, are they 100%? Are they 90%, 80%? Injuries took a big toll on the White Sox. Injuries, lack of accountability. It hurt this team big time, and it really was really funky to watch this team play such subpar baseball all season long.
Yeah, it hurt, and I watched a ton of baseball this year, bro. Like,
me too.
I watched so much baseball, and to have it end the way it did is really disappointing.
Stop laughing, Cub fan.
Hey, I knew my team was gonna be bad. I just think I hear what you guys are saying, but I think that too many players on the Sox are getting a pass of that. Someone else needs to motivate them. Someone else needs to make them do this. Someone else needs to do this. You get paid a lot of money, Yohan Moncada. No one should need to motivate you to play. No one needs to get you ready to play. There's so the people on there who aren't, even though they're young in age, they've been playing long enough that they should be ready. And the first year Tony was there, they did all that. They celebrated. Winning brings celebration. Everyone kept talking about they're not celebrating, they're not having fun. Where's the chain? All that. Well, losing, you can't laugh and joke and jump and flip a bat if you're losing all the time.
Right.
So while Tony was a big problem, I think too many players are getting a pass on their role in the culture. What was their change in the game? No, you set it back. At least the way Sox fans know how they were supposed to play. They went back. Looking for coaches with Sox DNA, I think it's time for a new DNA. Not doing it the way maybe Sox in the past because they don't hit home runs. So maybe you need a new thinking of how we're going to win games if they're not hitting home runs like they used to. So I just all year while I talked about Tony and his coaching staff, I always ask, are people overrating the quote unquote talent on this team? You know, on paper they're supposed to look good, but the second year, some of them not. I mean, people have been waiting for Yohan Moncada to get out of his COVID funk and all these other things for what, a year?
2 years now. 2 years.
Yeah,
2019 was the last time he did well. 2.5 years.
And he would be okay. He could be, because of his defense, it would be okay if others around him could do more. You know how you can always hide somebody and wait for them to come around, but you needed it from him. So I think there needs to be a lot of I don't know who your core is going to be, because you can't rely on Eloy, even though you want him to be. You can't really rely on Robert, even though you want him to be, because they seem to be injury prone, and it's not their fault. It's just they have very bad luck. Maybe Eloy would be healthier if he's just a DH, because he just defense isn't his thing, and when he tries to play hard, he hurts himself. So maybe he just needs to only play a little bit and DH more. So I just wonder who is really going to be your core, and I'm surprised to hear that TA is tradable. I thought he was considered the heart and soul of the team, but I wonder what has changed with that now you would consider him, or but maybe it's like you said, Sean, where they're just trying to put people on notice and they really aren't going to do anything, but maybe they want them to think that because they got to get their heads right. So I just have a lot of questions because I felt, and I wonder what they're going to do, because I always felt that they never did enough pass off season. They didn't do what they needed to do to help the team. And maybe it's because the typical Chicago ownership, we overvalue our talent. So they're so afraid of losing someone. And because, you know, they always needed a left-hand bat, Emilio said. And Schwarber was out there. He could have been your DH too, or something. He could have played first and outfield. And, you know, look what he's done. But they just kept overvaluing other people and they didn't come through. So I wonder, are they still going to overvalue some of the other players and not make a move that could help them? They need starters, because I don't know what happened to Giolito. Maybe you guys can tell me. This year, he seemed to be down. And it was like Dylan Cease, Lance Lynn, sometimes Johnny Cueto, and Michael Kopech. Still don't even know about him yet.
When he was healthy. When?
Yeah.
When?
And so there's just for there to be so much talent, it's just so crazy that a team that we all thought, even Cubs fans, thought that they were going to go far this year. There's so many questions in the offseason, and that's kind of crazy when you should be thinking that they're just going to do a little retooling to add someone to get them over the top. But now you're wondering, like, how many people are going to be gone to try to get them over the top?
You know,
and then for your manager consideration, one last thing, a lot of people wondering about Willie Harris. Willie Harris really wants the job. So like a lot of people are wondering, would he be someone that you would give a chance to? And that's my. Now you guys can.
So you gave me a couple of questions, a couple of topics to talk about. One, I've said it. I couldn't agree with you more. That there comes a certain point in time. You're 24, 25, 26, 28. All right, you need to motivate your God blessed self. Okay, and you mean to tell me from fighting in Cuba, because you know how many kids are in those baseball camps and academies, and how competitive it is down there, and for you to come out of Yohan Moncada and you would come out to be the number one prospect in the minors, all right, the number one prospect when you get to the big leagues. Now you want to chill. Now you want to slow yourself down. All right. Eloy Jimenez, you know, you came from humble beginnings as well. All right. In the Dominican Republic. All right. And you want to chill. All right. I've never shied away from saying they need to hold themselves accountable. But you don't have, there's nobody on that team as a player can hold anyone else accountable. Tim got his own issues off the field. So who the hell wants to listen to him? Listen, you go deal with that, with the alleged baby mama drama. All right. we don't need to hear you. There's nobody on the team that people respect enough. There's nobody on the team that's maniacal about playing. Okay, there's no one on the team that will get in your face. So I guess maybe Jose's maniacal about playing and preparing, but he's not a get in your face kind of guy. He's just watch me play and leave, follow my lead. They need somebody who's an alpha male in that who has no problem saying, hey, all right, that's not how we do stuff here. All right, that's not how we do stuff here. All right, I was very critical of my White Sox because I felt that they were comfortable with the big contracts. I thought they were comfortable with the individual awards, with the Gold Gloves, with the Silver Slugger, with the MVP, with the batting title, with all that shit. They were all excited and happy about it. We're going to do good. Those individual awards don't make a team. All right, they don't win you a World Series title. And I think that they really relied or rested on their laurels, and that was frustrating. That comes from the manager. That comes from saying, hey, you're a Gold Glover? Good. Can you get a guy over when I need you? Okay, the hell with your Gold Glove award. I need you're at bat. I need you to do this. I need you to do that. All right. Again, holding these guys accountable is what was missing. If you get a manager that holds guys accountable, it's a completely different story. It's a completely different story. And they were allowed to run. The inmates ran the asylum, and that's the thing that sucked because they are on paper one of the most talented teams, not in the American League, in baseball. Right. So I think if you get someone at the head who sets a culture, a standard. Hell, give me David Ross. As much as I hate to say it, you put David Ross on the South Side, this is a whole nother team. This is a whole completely different team.
Wow.
You don't want him. Let me ask you a question. You don't want him. Let me ask you a question really quick. Now, remember when they signed Tony, and a lot of people were afraid that his old school Punisher type of personality was going to bother the team. What happened to him then? Because remember, people were so worried he can't relate to the young people because he's going to be like, And then he got here, and now you're saying he was like, whatever.
I think he was like 97 years old by the time he got here. Yeah, and even the fieriest of them all lose that fire when they
fire
when they get that old.
Can't burn bright forever.
Everyone was so afraid that he was gonna, they say he took the fire out of him, but it wasn't because he was mean and that he was like strict with them. Because I agree, like when people didn't run the first, when Lewis Rob, when a couple people did, they tore, hamstrings or whatever. But others, when they didn't hustle, he should have snatched them out the game. And that's what so many people were afraid of. I'm like, well, what happened to this? But you're saying he was too old. And
I don't want to be an ageist here.
Right. And so then like with the Jose Abreu, you think maybe that's why they're ready to let go of them? Because weren't they holding him because they thought he could be kind of that, not enforcer, but like, I'm going to make sure I keep my team on, but that's not him.
And that's the thing you talk about miscalculating and misscouting. You should know Jose's been with you for 8-9 seasons. That's not who he is. That's not the type, his type of personality. So to think he's going to be, patrolling the locker room, all right, that's not him. That's not him at all. All right, he'd rather be out there in the batting cages working. He'd rather be out there in the field working on scoops, on digging stuff out of the dirt. He'd rather work. He's not that dude. All right, he's not that dude at all. And it's just his personality. It doesn't make him right, wrong, good, bad. It's just not who he is. So just to me, it literally all falls down to the lack of accountability. And everyone talked about Tony. When they started saying, is Tony going to mesh with these guys? I started thinking, maybe that's not a good thing because it doesn't matter who your manager is. You need to respect him. Okay. And if you think of it, and remember, Tony's like, dude, he goes, I've coached Ricky Henderson. He goes, Jose Canseco, Mark McGuire. You talk about personalities. And crazy people. I've coached guys with loud, big, crazy personalities. So when you start saying, are the players going to like the manager? I don't give a shit. You're getting paid millions of dollars to do what this man says. And I think that was the issue right away. The media kind of spun it. And that combined with Tony just being old. He's like, he didn't really want to put his foot down. He didn't want to. I don't know whether he just didn't really want to, or if he was just, 80-something years old, it's like, man, you're supposed to be motivating yourselves and say, I can't be motivating you every day. I'm 80. I don't have that energy.
I think, Kristen, you made a good point earlier in the season about La Russa, and you said You said I don't think Tony thought it was going to be as much work as it really needed to be managing this team.
Yeah. I think he thought he was coming into a team that played the way they were supposed to play, and they just needed someone who could just
Fill up the lineup card.
Yeah, just be there, guide
Screw up the
them,
lineup
answer
card.
questions. He was just there to just, he still had to do stuff, but I don't think he thought he needed to teach people how to hit a cutoff man. I don't think he thought he needed to teach people how to run bases. I think because he is older, and he doesn't have the energy like you mentioned, Sean. So he probably figured, I might have to do a few things, tinker with lineups and mess them up, as you guys said. The way I see it, but I don't have to teach these gentlemen how to play the sport that they've been playing most of their lives. And he came in and he was like, what the hell is this? And he was like, what do you mean you don't know how to hit the cutoff man? You just hit the cutoff man. He's waving his arms at you for you to throw it to him. So it's not that hard. The man's saying, throw it to me, and you still miss him. So I want, you're right. You guys are right.
That falls on him, though, Kristen. That falls on him because if you don't do that,
but
then you have your bench coaches, and you say, okay, look,
if
they don't hit a cutoff man, I need you to put a foot in his ass because I'm too tired. All right, then he has to delegate that. He has to delegate that bad cop to somebody else.
He should have. That's what he should have done. If he was
this is fundamental baseball, but even so,
been that person.
Even so, it doesn't matter what level you're on. You still need a manager or / coach, and there's going to be some coaching that needs to be done. All right, and he needed to. His biggest issue was he needed to set a culture. He didn't set a culture. The inmates set the culture, and that's the issue. You put a different skipper in there, a guy who holds people accountable. It's a whole nother story. Okay, unless you have a mass, revolt by the players, you got to do it my way because I'm the manager. This is what I need, and then you're going to have to work on, and it's going to start in spring training. It's going to start, what again, as I mentioned earlier, what type of team do you want? Okay, and whatever type of team you want, fine. Get the manager who's on board with that type of thing, and get a manager who holds those kids accountable or young men accountable. Say, hey, listen, you're going to have to learn how to bunt. All right, I don't care what statistics say. All right, there's gonna be a time where I'm gonna sacrifice an out to get my guys on first and second over to second and third. All right, I'm not gonna take a chance of you hitting the ball to the outfield. Okay, I'm just gonna have you bunt. All right, because you can go, you can use metrics any way you want, but the bottom line is you still have to get your assignment done, and sometimes your assignment is sacrificing yourself for the good of the team. And very rarely did I see the White Sox do that.
Right. Let me ask you, once again, we're here with the Superback Sean Sierra, Sean on my podcast, Sports Zone Chicago. Who in your mind is untouchable? We heard Rick say Dylan Cease and Andrew Vaughn. Who in your mind is untouchable? Who's a must-have on a World Series White Sox team next year?
Cease. That's
it.
That's it. And Cease wouldn't even be my ace. I'd need to go get an ace, and Cease would be my solid number 2. All right. Vaughn. Shit. Eloy can be is good a hitter. Eloy's a better hitter than Vaughn, and Vaughn's a pretty damn good hitter.
When healthy, I think Eloy's the best hitter on our team.
Yep. So untouchables. Still Cease. He's my only untouchable. I think Rick Hahn mentioned Vaughn because Vaughn's so young. All right, Vaughn's so young. He's still got some, he's not even into his, arbitration years yet. You know what I mean? He's a guy you don't want to give away. He already had Rick Hahn already has a Fernando Tatis situation in his hand, under his belt. He doesn't want another situation where they give him away for nothing or they, don't get what they deserve in him. They want to see him develop. And, so I think that's why he might have said it. But for me, because you asked the question, who's my untouchable? Dylan Cease. That's it.
Okay. So in that case, quickly, last question, rebuild or retool?
Retool. I'm telling you, it's a different story when you have a different manager.
Mm-hmm.
People don't understand, and people, Chicago fans are so impatient and illogical at times. Okay, people don't understand how good or how much good coaching or managing in baseball can affect the team. Okay, if you don't believe me, look at Cleveland. Okay, look at Detroit. And I know Detroit had a down year, but you got managers over there. They're going to turn around. The guy in Cleveland turned it around. The White Sox are way better than Cleveland on paper. Way better.
Supposedly,
but they're a much better team. They're running. These guys are running. You hit a pop, a little duck snort into short right field, and the guy gets second. Why? Because you run out of the box,
running his ass off,
running your ass off, and you force these guys because we're not running our ass off to get the ball into the infield. They take advantage of it. These are small things. Okay.
After a while, they knew they could get a second bag off of us because we weren't going to hustle the ball back in.
There was one of a good coaching friend of mine, JJ. He said one of his mentors said, "Listen, if you do all the little things, there are no big things." And think about it. Little thing, hit the cutoff man. Okay, you miss the cutoff man. Now you give an extra base, and then you have a wild pitch. There's a score. Okay, boom. As opposed to hitting the cutoff man, now the guy's stuck at second, as opposed to being on third, 90 feet away, a wild pitch away, pass ball away from scoring. Okay, you take a better approach.
All that happen.
Yeah. You take a better approach. Okay, I got to get the ball to the right side of the field, but I'm going to have to swing inside out on most of these pitches. I don't need to try and hit a home run. I don't need to pull the ball. I need to get the ball to the right side of the field. All right, you got guys coming up swinging on the first pitch after the guy in front of him just got walked on 4 pitches. What kind of nonsense is that? Make him throw a strike. All these little things that the White Sox didn't do, they just added up. And there was nobody there to hold their feet to the fire and hold them accountable. And I know I've said that about 10,000 times in your podcast, but that's what I truly feel. If you get a good manager who says you need to play this way or you're going to be benched, period. End of story. Guess what? You will see a huge difference. Athletes, especially top athletes, like to be coached. They want to. You don't think there was competition for Yo-Yo coming out of Cuba or Eloy coming out of the Dominican Republic and out of those baseball academies? You don't think there's competition? You think those coaches are nice? Like, hey, come on, keep going. They're like, no, I need you to bust your ass. No, okay, sit your ass down. We got this other kid who wants to play. There's competition. They coach you hard. These guys need to be coached hard.
They should be used to it.
They should be.
Yeah. All right, Sean, man, thank you so much for coming on, man. You gave us some good stuff. Let everybody know where they can find you.
Sure. You can find me every Monday, Wednesday, Friday on Sean and Maya in the morning on Sports Zone Chicago. So you can look up Sports Zone Chicago, follow us on Facebook and YouTube at Sports Zone Chicago. Follow us on Twitter at Sports Zone Chi, CHI. We have a mobile app you can download. So wherever you get your apps from, you can type in Sports Zone Chicago, download it, take it with you on the go. We also have a Roku channel. So if you have a Roku TV in the house, a Roku device, do us a favor, download the tile. You know how to do it. You've downloaded HBO Max, Disney Plus, Hulu, Stars. You got to catch, Power Book 37. You got to catch that. Showtime. You know how to do it. If not, your kids know how to do it. Make sure have them download the tile, and you can watch us live or on demand. And if you want to follow me, okay, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, and TikTok. I am a TikToker. I'm embarrassed to say it, but I am. Right there at the bottom of the screen, all one handle at the Sean Sierra.
My brother, always a pleasure, man. And thank you so much again for taking some time to come hang with us.
Oh, man, no problem. Anytime I get to talk baseball, anytime I get to talk sports, man, I'll do it. I'm just a text away, bro.
There's always the feeling when I talk to you that we could go another hour easy. You know what I mean?
I didn't even get into the Cubs. Shit.
I know, right?
We didn't even get into the Cubs, man. That was almost 40 minutes. We could have gone another 40 minutes talking Cubs.
Just talking about
that's only going to take about 10.
All right, man. Well, thanks again, Sean.
Hey, no problem, guys. You have a good night.
Thank you. Bye.
All righty. Bye.
All right. Once again, that was Sean Sierra, the Superback, joining us here on Plunked. Yeah, that was that was some good stuff. And so, Kristen, let's flip the script before we go. I know we don't have a lot of time left, but like your guy says he's willing to spend some money.
So good last year. They say sensible money. Okay, so who in my mind who's staying, right? So you have Hap and left, Seiya Suzuki and right. You don't have a center fielder. Christopher Morel, not good enough. Any of the other people, not really good enough. That Fran Meal, he could be your DH, I guess. Then you have third base. I'm not sold on Wisdom, but I'm pretty sure that's who's coming back. I mean, he hit like 2 very low. Should have looked it up before this call. He's a home run or nothing. Shortstop, I can move Nico to second. Okay, so Nico will play someplace, either second or shortstop. First base, we don't have one. And catcher, they said they're going to offer Wilson Contreras a qualifying offer. I guess that's so they can get the draft pick when he's signed by someone else. Pitching staff, Marcus Stroman, Justin Steele, and I guess Keegan Thompson. There's another rookie that had a couple of good outings, but Kyle Hendricks, I guess he'll come back after his injury. He could go. He's at the end. And yeah, the bullpen shambles. There's a lot of arms, not good. So yeah, that's it. So they need to spend money on the infield. They need to spend money on a catcher. They need to spend money in center field. And they need pitching. So who's out there? Who's going to come to a team that's still thinking about what they're going to do? Still, like, who wants to come here when they're told you still have 2 more years before we do anything?
What do you think the over-under is on Correa joining the team, opting out?
Oh, I think he needs to. For him, it all depends on if someone else comes first. Because he has so many other options of people that are closer to winning. He went from winning with Houston to now winning with Minnesota. I don't think he wants to come someplace else and not win. You know, once you get a little bit of taste of, it's very rare when you want to go someplace.
He got a lot of taste in Houston.
You know, I don't even know who's the shortstop in Houston. He may return there after he opts out. Or maybe he'll come to the south side because they're way closer to winning than we are on the north side.
True.
But if they get if they maybe sign Carlos Correa could possibly bring someone, but we're not going to win next year unless they just spent a whole bunch of money. So I don't know who's willing to wait 2 years. Like when this season was over, this reminds you of 2013, 2014, and the attendance is the lowest it's been since I think 2011. So they're losing money. No one likes the marquee network. A lot of fans aren't keen on the broadcasting team, so they have a lot of issues. And so if they want to start bringing people back, they are going to have. They can't trot out this team they trotted out at the end of the year. So it's like the Sox. You don't know what they're going to do. David Ross is here, and I know Sean said he'd like David Ross. He had a team full of really good players, and they won during the pandemic. But after that, they were garbage with good players. They weren't listening to him either, and maybe part of it's because they were his friend first. So maybe that was a little hard.
His experience reminds me so much of the Robin Ventura experiment.
And he has the easiest job in baseball because there are 0 expectations. So he can coach how he wants to coach. I mean, he has players who aren't even that good that he's coaching that are young. Christopher Morel, he started out really good, and then he just what we thought was going to happen. The league catches up to you, and then you're not that good because it's not like you were someone they knew that was going to be good. The players like the Brennan Davis that they talk about, he's not even that good of an outfielder. They're saying he can get you some hits and all that, but then he's been injured, so they don't even think he'll be up next year. the shortstop, Edward Howard, he's now getting over an injury, and those who have stayed injured. Then they have the Crow Armstrong kid who will be really good, but he's probably 2 years from coming up here.
Mm-hmm.
I don't. They say they want to spend money, but they also know it's going to be hard to get anyone to come here who wants to wait 2 to 3 years before they win.
So how long do you give David Ross, win or lose? How many more years do you see him as the skipper?
I give him 2 because I think he'll be similar to. They're gonna give him the good old Ricky Renteria treatment. He's gonna get them right there, and then they're gonna bring in the coach that's gonna take them over the top.
Over the top.
So I give him 2. Because they'll be getting close, and you'll see there are some shortcomings on him, and they were like, all right, they need a new voice, they need someone who's better. Maybe in 2-3 years, Frank Hona still wants to manage, or some other young person is ready to move into the spotlight. But I say 2-3 at the most. He's not in danger right now because who else wants to come and manage a lot of
this job right now anyway?
Yeah. It's a great, of course, everyone like, who wouldn't want to play in Wrigley Field? Someone who's ready to win right now. That's who wouldn't want to come play in Wrigley Field. And the fans, they're down. I mean, this may not seem like a little, but they're down to like 2.6 million when they were at 3.3, 3.4. That's a lot of people.
That's a big drop off.
Yeah. And it's probably worse than that. They had announced tickets, and you look in the stands and it's nothing but green seats. And so it's not even like, oh, people will go there anyway for the great experience. On a really hot day, someone wants to get out. Someone probably giving away tickets. You can buy some tickets for $20 on the day of because no one's buying them for a lot of money. So people will go there for an outing, but it's not because they're excited about this team. Nothing to be excited about. Yeah. You don't have the good feeling that you had in 2015, or even as decent as you had in 2014.
I gotta tell you, I feel shitty right now listening to you talk about them.
It's like,
I'm like, damn.
You know how big of a Cubs fan I am. I would turn every once in a while. I couldn't watch it anymore. It became unbearable.
Yeah.
Even though people are like, oh, they started winning and playing hard. Oh, who cares? Who cares at this point?
It gets tough watching even your team playing in baseball after you've watched 100 and something games.
Yeah.
If you're not playing for something in couple weeks of October, it gets pretty hard to watch. Yeah. Even the Sox got really hard to watch the last 2 weeks. Yeah,
especially once there was zero chance anymore. It's like, who cares?
Yeah.
There was no one like, oh, the Cubs are exciting. Look at these kids. No, they're not. They're not.
Damn, no, they're not.
Stop lying to yourself and
to the
others.
Lying to the people.
It's like, when is this over? Get this torture over with.
I'm telling you.
And now we're all Chicago baseball fans are going to be tortured this offseason. There's going to be so many rumors about who's managing the White Sox.
Yep.
There's going to be so many rumors of Carlos Correa coming here, and he's not. The Cubs' names are going to be attached to every free agent like they are.
Right. Yes, they are. I mean, no matter what, they are losing, but it's still a, no pun intended, it's still a marquee place to play, in Wrigley. And for the good of the city, I always hope they pull it together,
Yeah, I mean, they will eventually. Their first signing will let you know if they'll at least be playing for 500 next year. Like,
absolutely.
They have to do that, and then I think if they show that they're 500 now, more marquee players. But it really depends on if Correa or Xander Bogaerts. I think he's available for shortstop. It depends on if someone's willing to wait 2 years to win. Next year, if a good free agents come, now you're building up and you're going to look like 2015. or surprise team or something like 2014 on your way to 2015, whatever. But so like it is a marquee place to play, but who wants to wait 2 to 3 years? That's what it's all about. So I don't know any of these free agents who are, yeah, I can wait and let this build. Now maybe Correa, since he's won already, he will be willing to win in Chicago. He knows how you're treated for the rest of your life if you win in Chicago.
Absolutely.
So maybe he would be willing to wait, but then it's like he's gonna be getting older. Do I want to waste my twilight years?
He might as well. He got a couple of rings.
Yeah. So
Just
I mean,
come have
maybe
a good time.
yeah. So maybe he would like to come here because he won.
Trying
I
to be
think
positive.
Xander Bogaerts won.
I'm sorry.
Did he win with Boston? Was Xander Bogaerts on the team when they won? I don't know.
I am not sure about that.
I don't know, but I have no faith. I'm a despondent Cubs fan.
Well, you really put it out there. You're not seem very happy about what is to
I
come.
want them to surprise me. I want to be pleasantly surprised.
I hear you. Same here. Same here.
Who do you want to manage?
The emo part of me would love to see Ozzy. I'd love to see Ozzy back in the dugout. Or if it's an Ozzy like Sean mentioned, Joey Cora, because you feel like Ozzy would be involved in that. Maybe it isn't Ozzy to be the head guy, but definitely a voice in that dugout. I think he would be very useful. He's got personal relationships with these guys, but he could still be Ozzy and not be like a David Ross like personal relationship where it's like awkward
Right.
coming down on a guy, you know what I mean? But other than that, like I like a guy who's done it before. Like I like a Bruce Bochy or even a Joe Madden, but I question their age at this point. And
and a lot of people said no to Joe Madden. And a lot of people were saying no, it's because Joe Madden doesn't like all the analytics. Even though he's an analytics guy, but he thinks that they play a little too much into the game. And so
well, I think they do too, you know what I mean? Because there was over 100-some years of baseball without it, and they did quite well before they came along. So you can't tell me now that analytics have to be so heavily involved. You know what I mean?
And a lot of times the analytics tells you the same thing that your eyes have seen.
Absolutely.
This guy can hit, this guy can field, this guy can run, and this guy can pitch.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I don't need all that.
That's the analytics you need.
Or all that. I can see. You're not it.
Yeah. Absolutely. And not just I can see you're not it, but not afraid to make a change right then and there. And I don't care who it is. Like, I don't care what his contract is or any of that. I just want to see I want to see this team excel. And I don't care about guys getting their feelings hurt. Obviously that's kind of my personality anyways, but I just want what's best for the team and guys to get up off their ass and play the game right, like they've been playing their whole lives. Like, it's not a lack of talent; it's just direction. And I feel you. Like, yeah, guys, these are grown men, and they should be able to hold themselves accountable, to an extent. But at the same time, there is a reason you have a manager.
Oh yeah.
To kind of help rein everything in and kind of pull it together. So I know it's not going to be Ozzy, even though I would like to see Ozzy, but I'd like a guy. I mean, if it's not Ozzy, like I wouldn't mind a guy like Joe Girardi. You know what I mean? Like
yeah, they say he can't relate to players at all though.
Oh, really?
He's worse than relating to players than Tony La Russa. Now he will hold you accountable, but I guess there's something about his personality that just isn't
rubs people the wrong way. I don't know. It's going to be tough. You know what I mean? Like, and you can say the same thing about Ozzy, although I think Ozzy has simmered a bit in his since his first run as a manager. But the good thing about playing 162 games is that now that it's over, it's only 4 months until spring training.
Right. My goodness.
By the time the holidays are over, we'll be talking about baseball again.
And in December, early December, when they had those meetings,
when I have all the meetings and stuff.
You start hearing about who's talking to who, and the Cubs will be talking to everybody.
Absolutely, and I'm here for it all.
They're like, oh, the Cubs have checked in on old Jose Abreu. Oh, the Cubs have checked on every shortstop in the league.
I mean, you guys need a first baseman. You know what I mean?
I think it's going to be lies. The Cubs checking in is going to be like, hey, what do you guys want for Jose? Oh, all right. Cubs checked in.
Let's put it out there that we checked in, and
right. They're like,
move on.
Go out on social media and or like the Sox, they'll call Bob Nightingale. Hey, Bob.
Right. Put this out
story. Get our rumors going. Get the leaks.
Any closing thoughts or remarks on the season, Kristen, before we shut it down?
I didn't learn anything. The players that I know can play played. I did like Seiya. Oh, okay. No, I lied. Ian Happ. I was happy with his improvement. I like Seiya. Yeah. I like Marcus Stroman. I wish Wilson could stay. And yeah, that's all I learned.
All right. Not bad. Not bad. That's something.
Yeah.
That's something. Closing remarks on the season. I really think, you talking about just underachievement, you know what I mean? And I think this is a group that would greatly benefit from some organization. I'm flipping sports, but like you think about a young Lakers team that was full of talent, but took a Phil Jackson to come in and just shore up some things and bring it all together, and I hope that this next manager is able to do that, along with a couple of changes in the roster that are going to be needed. And hey, but forever is Chicago till the world blows up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Go Cubs, go Sox, and that's all I got.
Yeah, that's it.
All right.
See you in spring training.
Well, with that being said, we are signing off for 2022 season. Season 2 of Plunk is in the books. It's been fun. Stay tuned. Kristen and I pop in on our on the mothership, the Chicago Clubhouse podcast. We pop in here and there to discuss Bulls and Bears, and we'll probably pop in around December when baseball talks heat up. So until then, always shout out to everybody who took time to watch us live or watch us record it. Always appreciate it. We're just a couple of Chicago kids talking shit who don't really know shit
at all,
but got a lot to say somehow.
A lot.
All right.
Well, good night, everyone.
All right. Good night.